Welcome to another episode of Culinary School Stories, the weekly podcast that is dedicated to sharing the stories of people around the globe whose lives have been influenced, impacted, touched, and or enriched, for good or for bad, from their culinary school experience. Hi, my name is Colin Roche, and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us today. You are an important part of this show, where we ask the question, what's your culinary school story? So now, without any further delay, let's meet today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Culinary School Stories podcast, a proud member of the Food Media Network. And if you have not yet subscribed to the show, please do so. It is free, and we would love to have you as part of our community. You can follow the show and subscribe for free through your favorite podcast app or through our website at www.culinaryschoolstories.com, which is also where we store all of the podcast past episodes and our guest bios and contact information. So be sure to check it out. So now, without any further delay, I would like to introduce today's guest, who has a great story to share with all of us. He's coming to us all the way from Ireland. I would like to introduce Chef Tadgh Byrne. Tadgh, welcome to the show.
Hello, Colin. Thanks for having me.
Great. So why don't we start, like all good stories, at the beginning? Where did your love of food come from, and how did that turn into, a career? Where was it? Was it with your grandmother? Were you in the kitchen as a young child? Or was it something to work for us? Who was the inspiration? Kind of share about that where you got your start, would you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's kind of an unusual one. I grew up in Portugal. My parents kind of met there. We're not Portuguese in any way, but we lived there until I was 9. As expats, and I think food was kind of all around, and restaurants were quite cheap. Well, they still are, and we went to restaurants quite a lot, like once a week maybe when I was a kid. So I was surrounded by Portuguese food, sardines and all these kind of things, and it was the 80s as well, so there was kind of Western influence. We had egg mayonnaise and prawn cocktail and these kind of weird things woven in. But yeah, food was everywhere, and that's kind of, that was the introduction to it. We moved to Ireland when I was 9. It was a very different story. Ireland's food in 1993 was still kind of I don't know, bland.
Definitely different.
Different, bland. It's come on leaps and bounds in the last 10, couple of decades, but it was a bit of an adjustment. But I mean, there was things that I fell in love with, like Irish butter and Irish cheese straight away. And the bread here, I love the bread. And there was, things that I hadn't eaten before. There was a lot more processed food as well. So that was kind of my teenage years and my late childhood. Towards the end of school, it was around 1998, 1999, when there was, I don't know if it was the same in the US, but over here there was like this explosion of the idea of a celebrity chef and cooking programs on TV. So you had the likes of Rick Stein, Nigella Lawson, Gordon Ramsay, even Jamie Oliver, all these kind of personalities breaking through into the mainstream. So it kind of became cool to be a chef all of a sudden. And, and food became, and people started, wanting to learn how to cook and stuff like that. So this is coming up to when I was leaving school. I'd chosen a few other things for college. I think I aimed pretty high at psychology and stuff like that, but I knew I wasn't going to get the points for that. So it fell on culinary arts in what was known as DIT at the time. So I just went with it. I'd had a part-time job throughout school as a waiter in a local 4-star hotel in Arklow here, where I'm from. And I developed I liked the hospitality industry. I kind of felt at home there. So when it came to going to college, I just kind of went with it. I'll say, I'll try this culinary arts thing and see what it's all about. And then the rest is kind of history.
Now, were your parents supportive of this, or how did that go when you told them that this is what you're going to pursue?
Well, my mum, was that hotel where I was working as a waiter. They offered me an apprenticeship as a chef. And I didn't do very well at school. I didn't really enjoy school. I couldn't wait to get out of there. So the thought of going to college for me was, I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do another 4 years of school So my mum was really pushing me not to do the apprenticeship, and she said, "You got to go to college. You got to go." Everyone in our family's gone to college. It's just what you got to do. At least you'll have something to fall back on if you decide you don't like it, and you'll have a qualification. And I said, okay, and I reluctantly went. But yeah, I'm glad. And then, when you're working throughout, I was doing a degree. It was a BA honors in culinary arts, and you work chefs, and they're saying, "Why are you doing a degree in cooking? Why you want to be a chef? So why are you going to college and doing 4 years? Why don't you just learn how to be a chef whilst being a chef?" So the idea of going to college for 4 years and doing a degree in culinary arts was pretty foreign back then in Ireland. And it was one of the first degree programs, if not the first in the world. So yeah, I got through it anyway. Took a while. I took a year out in the middle, and I wasn't very studious back then. I found my inner nerd much later on in life.
So looking back with perspective, was it worth it? Was it a good return on your investment? I mean, or was it like was there parts that were missing that you wish you had, or can you speak to that?
Yeah, it was. I mean, they sent us abroad for a summer. I went to work in a Michelin star place in Brussels. I mean, that's still with me today, that training. So that that's mm-hmm. It's in here, and I suppose it doesn't even matter on a CV, but it's something that's kind of a mentality that's with me for life. So there's things like that. I probably wouldn't have had the initiative to get up and go to Brussels and go and contact a Michelin star restaurant on my own. So there's stuff like that. What else? As I say, I took a gap year out halfway through. So that kind of took care of the monetary side of things. I was able to earn money for a year and then go back and see what working life was like. And after that year, I was kind of like, I can't wait to be a student again. Like working is hard, So let's put this on hold for as long as I can.
Yeah.
And it's probably the same reason I went back and did a master's as well later on in life. Just putting the being a grown up on hold kind of thing, and remaining a student. So yes, definitely, to answer your question, definitely worth doing. Yeah, I'm glad I did the degree program, because as well, it kind of paved the way for me to go and do a master's in gastronomy 10 years later.
Great. I want to hear about that too shortly. But so talking about that degree in culinary arts, did that open doors for you career-wise after you get out? I mean, do they network? Do they, introduce you to work-study type places that you can go and open, better doors?
Yes. I mean, a lot of the people, I'm still friends with a lot of the people that I went to college with, and a lot of them have gone on to do product development and different things. Some people did a master's. But yeah, different areas. People have, gone into front of house. They've gone into setting up their own business and stuff like that. On a personal level, I initially thought that maybe it would lead to more opportunities and more pay. But I see these days they advertise that they want a culinary arts degree in a lot of jobs. Back then, it didn't make too much of a difference. But how it did help me was when I moved to Australia. And I was going for a job as a restaurant manager, and I was looking for a visa through sponsorship. And a lot of people from Ireland at the time were looking for visas because there was a big recession in Ireland, as there was around the world. But having that qualification helped me get the visa. Whereas some other people that applied for hospitality jobs and stuff like that, they didn't have the qualifications, and they had to find other ways of staying in Australia, or they had to come home. So there was that. And then, as I say, it kind of led to me getting into doing a master's as well years later. So yeah, it opened doors, and I'm still friends with the people, as I said, and we get together quite often, and it's a network for life. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What about certification? In this country, we have like American Culinary Federation and the, Baking Guild, and they give you a lot of certifications like that, and that can be, valuable as well. Is that something that is in Ireland and over there in Europe, or is it they're looking more at the degree, or is it just experience?
I mean, there's different options you can do. There's the apprenticeship, there's day release. You can do 1 day a week in college, and then you work the other 4 or 5. So you can earn while you learn, essentially. You can do a 1-year professional cookery. You can do a 2-year professional cookery. You can do a diploma in culinary arts, and then you can do a degree in culinary arts, and then you can do an MA in gastronomy if you want. But there's no cooking in that. Other than that, there is private schools around. The most famous one is called Ballymaloe, and they churn out a lot of good chefs. It's expensive and it's very condensed. I think it's pretty hardcore. Like you do 3 months intensive to get your qualification. But the people that come out of there, they're a different kind of chef, but they're very entrepreneurial, I'd say. You know, they're very good at setting up their own business, be it a food product or a little cafe or something like that. So that's kind of a fast track to it if you can afford it. But yeah, very reputable school. I work in Ballyknocken, which is similar enough. But I think, you know, we do a lot of corporate stuff, so a lot of fun. And then the public will come in per day. So there's no accreditation as such. But yeah, so there's plenty of options here. There used to be a program called CERT, and you could get paid. You'd kind of get the basic welfare check while you were in college for people that wanted a more kind of vocational training when they got out of school or when they were about 16 to 20 kind of thing. Like. But it's no longer running, that one. Mm-hmm. But that was an initiative. There was a chef crisis at the time, as there is now. And I think CERT was an initiative to get people into the industry. So maybe we need to look at that again, paying people to train as chefs. Incentivize it.
Yeah, it's kind of the same in this country now, where kind of people are, especially after COVID, having that, you know, the pandemic gave them a pause. Now they're not willing to go back into the industry. It seems they're having trouble filling the positions. And we've also had a lot of culinary schools here in the United States that have closed, you know, for a variety of reasons. One being that it's a hard, I guess, discipline or degree to give out because it's a small amount of students. You have to buy a lot of expensive products. It's very expensive, you know, to go to culinary school and try to get a degree in that and working with all those products.
Yeah, so I hear.
So they've closed quite a bit. So it's going through kind of a change or a transition in the industry now because, you know, they're wondering like, well, where's the feeder programs? Who's training the next generations of chefs and where are they going to come from? Is that going to be online? Is that going to be more community colleges? So is it still going strong in Ireland and Europe, or do you see some falling off or the industry changing?
It is totally. It's the exact same. Yeah, there's just no chefs anywhere. Anyone can find. People are holding out for the good office jobs when they come back in contract catering. I mean, yeah, there's a struggle here. It's an industry that relies on migration, as with the States, I suppose. You know, with a lot of kind of Polish, Romanians, Lithuanians, Latvians, Hungarians in the industry here, but Irish people just don't want to do it anymore, and especially the younger generation. So yeah, it's kind of a similar thing. I hope the cooking schools don't close here. I hope that people will continue to want to be chefs, and I guess we as an older generation or a middle generation have a role to play in that, in attracting people and treating people well, you know, and sharing the profits with them. You know, a lot of restaurants and hotels make, you know, huge profits, like, but they're not reflected in the wages of these people. So that is something that has to change for sure. But there's so many benefits to this industry, you know. You can travel with it. You get, you know, tips in a lot of places. You get unlimited food, free coffee. You're always going to be learning. You can stage. You can just walk into any other restaurant and say, "Hey, I want to work with you for a day." I mean, can you do that in other industries? Just walk into it and learn for free? I don't know, you know. So there is many benefits, but we really need to start shouting about what the benefits are. And stop complaining as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so true, so true. We got to keep the industry up, and we have to promote it, and we have to, you know, change as an industry, right, to make it, you know, more attractive to those that are coming up through the ranks now, and you know, and life balance, and, you know, mental and personal, you know, well-being of people. So, tell me about your influences growing up. I'm sure growing up in Portugal, that must have influenced your cuisine, and then being in Ireland. Where is your influences come from as becoming a culinarian, as becoming a chef, if you've gone up through the ranks?
Yeah, I suppose, Portugal was an early influence. I still like the idea of, you know, simple ingredients cooked well. Yeah, that Portuguese aspect, taking nice seasonal products and treating them well. But I mean, plenty of influences. I remember reading, you know, Gordon Ramsay's autobiography, Marco Pierre White's autobiography, and being hugely inspired by them. I used to watch The Naked Chef with Jamie Oliver. I was a fan of his Vespa and his. I thought he had a cool apartment and a cool little life going, and that like chefing. He kind of made chefing look fun. Loads of Rick Stein. As I say, just when I was about 18, 19, thinking about going to culinary school, there was this explosion of TV chefs in the UK and in Ireland. So I went on in later years. Who else? Then just right as I was going into college, I think it was the summer before, I read Kitchen Confidential, Anthony Bourdain, and it was kind of love at first sight almost. That kind of. I was like, wow, this guy is so cool. He sells it well. I want to be involved in this, and I went on to watch all of his shows, and I've even read a few of his his fiction books recently enough. But A.A. Gill as a writer, hilarious. He was a food critic for Tatler and for the Sunday Times. I remember we used to get the Sunday Times in our house actually when I was a kid. So I occasionally read his column called Table Talk. And he was just ruthless, but he was hilarious. Like, it was entertaining. And, he's funny to watch as well in his interviews. A.A. Gill, for anyone that doesn't know him, check him out.
Did that influence your writing? Because I know you wrote a blog or still write a blog. You wrote for a couple of, I think, newspapers, local ones, doing restaurant reviews. Did that have an influence on you, or maybe you could speak to that?
I can only aspire to, I suppose A.A. Gill. My travel writing, I suppose, I tried to blog a bit when I was traveling and try to make it comical. So maybe there's a bit of A.A. Gill in there. But I suppose a lot of the writing that I've done is quite functional for guidebooks, and on my blog it serves as a guide as well. So that the writing is quite condensed and quite tight, I suppose. So just journalistic style, I suppose, is what I've been exposed to or had the opportunity to write. But I'd love to write something a bit more comical or a bit more warts and all in the future. Edgy, exactly, yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So we should tell listeners, your blog's still going. I mean, tell them maybe I can put it in the show notes where the website is, where they could find and follow some of your writings. Yeah.
So my blog is called The Feed, as in like a Facebook feed, but also, feeding yourself. So that's thefeed.ie. It was started as a guide to Dublin cafes, where to get a good coffee and a good brunch in Dublin. It kind of expanded out into suppliers as well, and I interviewed a lot of people for that. So again, kind of working on that journalistic angle of kind of picking people's brains and kind of draw information out of them. And and then then I started my master's, so I put the whole thing on hold, and I was like, right, I'm going to park this blog for 2 years and then come back to it when I finish my master's. So there's some of my academic writing has been adapted for it, and there's a few kind of rants about me, about the industry and stuff like that, and just little blogs that are up there. And a guide to like my hometown here, where to get food, and a few little bits like that kind of creeping in there.
Great.
So that's thefeed.ie. Yeah,
I'll put that link in the show notes too. So if anyone's driving, can't do it right now, they can find it afterwards. Is this is culinary media something that you aspire to, that you're going to continue with? I mean, are you going to do shows, videos, other things besides the writing?
Yeah, I'd love to do a podcast, to be honest. So any tips? No,
sure.
No.
Actually, I got a free class right now on my courses. I'll send you the link to it. It's Introduction to Podcasting for the Hospitality Professional.
Nice one.
So there's all kinds of information in it. So I'll get that. I'll put that in the show notes too if anyone else is listening. So it tell you all about how to start podcasting, from a basic point of view, and how you can do it as a business or to build a personal brand.
Fantastic, brilliant. I look forward to that. Any sort of media is something that's kind of crept into my life. It wasn't something I ever really thought of. I've just been asked to do videos for various things. The local library service was last year during lockdown. I made a couple of videos for them, just cooking kind of demos in my back garden. Mm-hmm. And then I was approached by a friend of mine that works for the St. Patrick's Day Festival. They had to do a digital content festival this year, obviously, because apparently there's a some sort of virus going around or something. But yeah, so it was all online, and they needed a lot of content and they needed it quick. And she's like, would you like to make a program on food? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what do you want to do? And so we came up with the idea of doing the history of Irish food in 5 episodes from, the Bronze Age.
Wow.
Right, or, from the beginning, the first humans in Ireland all the way right up to modern day. So there's a 5-part. You'd find that on YouTube, actually. It's still there. So, yeah, if you want to learn about the history of Irish food, it does what it says on the tin. And, it covers, many millennia. So yeah, I enjoy that. I mean, it's fun, we got to travel around the country chatting to people and eating food. What could be better? So I'd love to do more of that.
Talk about that though from the video and the celebrity chef point of view, because I'm sure it's the same as it has been in this country. It's a double-edged sword because it drives a lot of people to the industry because it's exciting. They want to be like Jamie Oliver or Gordon Ramsay. They think it's all fun. But at the same time, it doesn't show the other side, like the work, right? The cleaning, the hard hours and stuff like that. So, maybe you could talk about, because you've been on TV, you've do media, but at the same time, you've gone up through the ranks and stuff. So if there's someone listening right now, and maybe you could talk about the positives and negatives and about the culinary media.
I guess maybe it does give a false impression. There was the early one with Gordon Ramsay at Boiling Point, I think it was, where, he's just bullying all his staff basically. And I think he's chasing his Michelin star, 3rd one or something, and he's very stressed. I think, he's probably changed a bit down through the years and chilled out and did kind of cultivate that TV persona. I always kind of thought about those kind of chefs, though. Is it like we're glorifying bullies, really, is what it is, and that idea of shouting at people and treating them like idiots. I didn't have much time for that kind of stuff and the drama that goes with it. There's a lot of these cooking shows, the competition ones, they don't really give it an idea of what it's like in a real kitchen. Right. There's a lot of drama in it. But I mean, yeah, it would be good to have a kind of a gritty, fly on the wall show of what it's really like. I mean, there was a company that did a kind of a take on Kitchen Confidential called Kitchen Confidential with Bradley Cooper, and it gave a pretty good insight into the industry and, the plight of the commie chef and the kitchen porter and the head chef and trying to gather a crew, all that kind of stuff. So that might be worth watching for anybody that's thinking about getting into the industry. But yeah, I mean, it is a tough industry. There's no denying it. I'm kind of in the position I'm seeing it through the eyes of my friend now. I've recently got my friend Chris a job in a kitchen, and it's his first kitchen job. At age 30, 32 or 33 or something, he fancied a career change and he thought he'd give it a go. And he's gone through all the things I went through when I first arrived. It's like, what? You guys don't get breaks? And it's like, it's all go. You just don't stop. You get in and it's just bam, bam, bam all day. And then there's this big long clean down at the end when you think it's over. So, and then, there's all the egos and stuff like that in kitchens. It's a tough industry, but it toughens you, right. I think if you can kind of get through the first years of it, you can get through anything almost, so.
Okay, at this halfway point in the show, I want to take a quick pause and tell you about an amazing opportunity from one of the industry leaders in culinary and hospitality online education. Whether you are an individual looking to get more training in the front or back of the house that is documented through assessment and certification, or are a small or large hospitality business owner looking to find an effective and legitimate educational training institution that will provide your employees quick, easy, and affordable operational training, well then, the Pineapple Academy is for you. The Pineapple Academy is the premier provider of online education in the areas of food service training that is designed for both front and back of the house frontline workers in the restaurant and hospitality industries. Their current curriculum includes a variety of topics to fulfill your personal training needs, such as knife skills, food safety, customer service, cleaning and sanitation, and so much more. And during this time where staffing is a concern for everyone, their training programs provide an easy and affordable way for hospitality businesses and individuals to manage and implement a high-class training program. And as someone who has taken several of their training courses, I can honestly say that they are always focusing on the needs of their customers and the industry while constantly adding to their training library. Their Pineapple Path to Learning delivers impactful training solutions for individuals or businesses of any size. Their commitment to educational excellence is centered around delivering skills training in 5 minutes or less. This unique approach is based upon research that suggests the highest level of learner retention and engagement. In each video, the specific skills provided are presented by subject matter experts who bring real-world experiences to the training. They offer food service training solutions for individuals and businesses of any size in either an individual or a group training format, depending on your specific needs. Their training is designed to be fast, effective, and an easy way to get real-world, practical knowledge for yourself or your team. And it is the perfect tool to onboard new team members and standardize your training. And the best news is you can get started for as little as $9.99 a month with their personal plan or $14.99 a month for their business plan. They also have custom options available for businesses as well. And you can try it for free before you buy, because today I am including a custom link just for you in the show notes and description section of this episode, which will give you a 14-day free trial. So, what do you have to lose? Go and check out the Pineapple Academy today. I have really enjoyed their courses, and I know you will too. Okay, so now back to the show. And you went into catering, though, so maybe you could speak to that, because you have a catering company.
Yeah.
And how is that different than, maybe the typical restaurant job that people may go for? And maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I took 2 years out, and I was working as an agency chef, so as a temp chef. So I just went into loads of different places and just showed up, do the work, and then you go home. And it's a kind of cool lifestyle in a way. The food varies from venue to venue. And while I was doing that, I got asked, and you can plan your diary around these things. It's quite flexible. So if I was asked to do a bit of catering for someone's birthday party or something, I could say yes, because I knew you didn't have to work every Saturday if you didn't want to.
Right.
So I was flexible. So yeah, it kind of started that way. Again, just people asking me, can you do this? Can you do that? And I have a habit of just saying yes to everything, and taking on far too much work. So I was doing the catering and working as an agency chef for 2 years, and I really enjoyed it. And you're doing your own food for parties and stuff like that, and you can do whatever food you want, but you don't have the kind of the stress of having all the staff and the overheads and the rent and trying to get footfall. You're going to the customer as such, rather than waiting for them to come to you. So there's a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah.
You need a bit of kind of initial capital to kind of get it off the ground. But I've just been building it very slowly, and then obviously the pandemic hit, and I was kept going with the agency work, thankfully. And now I've gone kind of launched myself full steam ahead into this catering company called Fed Up.
Fed Up.
Yeah, tongue in cheek. yeah. So that's another avenue you can go down if you don't want to work in restaurants or hotels or something. There's catering.
That's a lot of opportunities out there, a lot of career paths that people can break off and splinter off into. So.
Totally, yeah, and you learn that as an agency chef, because you're going into hospitals, you're going into offices, you're going into nursing homes and all that, and all these places have food, and it's not. I was always in restaurants and cafes, so it's not a world that I was exposed to. That kind of that whole side of catering. So yeah, catering or cooking's everywhere. So
yeah, that's a big thing here. The senior and healthcare divisions of it, that's really big, because a lot of these customers, these clients, they're demanding good food, so they want that when they go into retirement homes and into hospitals, and they want chefs, and it's got a good lifestyle. It gives you the time off, gives you good benefits. So I've seen a lot of people transferring into that?
We have a tendency to just have this cliche image of, oh, I have to work nights, I have to work weekends. Everyone's an alcoholic, drug addict in the industry. But, you walk into a hospital, everyone has breaks, everyone has a pension, everyone, they work 8-hour shifts. So, there's opportunities out there for chefs. It just depends on what your lifestyle is and where you're at and what kind of food you want to work with.
Yeah. So you've done a lot in the industry. You've done a lot of different parts, a lot of different sectors and segments in it. What's next for you? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, 10 years? Where do you want to? Where are you going to end up?
I don't know. What's next? Yeah, I mean, like everyone, I want a work-life balance. I see where this company goes, but ideally, I'd like to kind of get off my feet, as we get older, and I don't want to wear myself out too much, or have to have a hip replacement when I'm 45 or anything like that. So I suppose the idea would be to take a kind of backseat from the kitchen at some point and work on the business and not in the business as such. But I'd like to get into teaching a bit more as well. I've been teaching in a cooking school for the last 2 years and done a few other little bits and pieces with other companies and stuff. So I'd like to probably get into teaching the theory side of it maybe and do a bit of writing as well, or journalism or TV work or anything like that. I'm open to anything.
Good, right.
As long as it's around food.
Yeah, right. That's the common, the linchpin there that, everything hinges around. There's so many opportunities that they can go to now. So you collect hot sauces?
I do, yeah. I started with a few, and then people saw that I had a little mini collection, and they started bringing them to me from all around the world. Yeah. Louisiana style kind of hot sauces and chipotle. And
really?
Yeah, I've about 20 now. Some of them are probably out of date, but at any given time, I normally have 20, with some coming in and some coming out.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a big thing here. I think for anyone that's interested in it, it's a hugely untapped market in Ireland, the whole hot sauce barbecue kind of thing.
Yeah, because here we go to the store, you buy, 20 bottles, all different types. It's constantly, every area has their own, they make it. Not there, though.
Yeah, I know, yeah. So I don't know, if you can convince Irish people to use hot sauce and with a good marketing campaign, there's a lot of money to be made there, I think. But it was the same in Australia. I think I got into it in Australia. I lived in Melbourne for 7 years, and hot sauce is kind of, it's a relatively new thing, but it's very popular there now. Are you a fan of hot sauce?
I like it. I'm not the person that has to, I don't want to cry and sweat and tears when I'm eating. Some people do that. And you can't taste the food, but I think in right situations, it can really highlight a dish. Like I like buffalo wings. I think the hot sauce and the butter and the fat of the chicken wing, and I think all that does a great flavor.
Ireland is obsessed with buffalo wings. Yeah, I think we've almost taken it on as our national dish here.
Really?
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like the country is obsessed. The last 10, 15 years, yeah, every pub, every restaurant nearly would do wings.
Wow.
Buffalo wings with a blue cheese dip and
I
celery.
would never have thought that.
I know, yeah.
I just did for my YouTube channel, I just did baked buffalo tofu, because my son likes it. And instead of having chicken, instead of using it in flour and egg and things like that, a standard breading procedure, I put it in cornstarch and then in some almond milk and then in panko breadcrumbs. But again, throwing it in the Franks, using a vegan butter, because I tried to keep it vegetarian.
Yeah.
My son, my youngest son, he's 10, he eats it. He loves it. I mean,
I want to try that.
We eat chicken too, but he just loves tofu. He's like, can you make some of that tofu buffalo?
Yeah. Good on him. Well, there's some good cauliflower wings out there as well.
Yeah. I've had some of the Korean ones on that, so those are good. So yeah, so you can go crazy on that. So you're an influence now because, you've been teaching classes, you've had students, you got your blog, you're influencing. Who's an influence to you? I mean, who's influenced you in your career, or someone that you want to give a shout out that's influenced you now, whether that's personally or professionally, that you want to, share?
I mean, there was our lecturers back in the day. The school was headed by a man called Joseph Hegarty, who was probably a bit of a visionary in the time. He had a vision for Ireland and what training up the next generation of chefs would do for the country, I think. I mean, he was ambitious. probably backed up by Martin, who was a younger lecturer at the time, who went on to set up the master's program that I'm on, which is the gastronomy one. And he's also done great things for food in Ireland and raising the level of education and trying to, through training all of these kids like myself and elevating their kind of education, they've gone on to do great things and get Michelin stars and, just put Ireland on the map as a kind of foodie country. Like two other people who've been great influence and helpful for me are two of my classmates from that master's, Paul and Santina. The three of us are part of this food network called Wicklow Naturally, which is for the local area. It's to associate all of the food and drink producers in the area and then get chefs like myself to use all of the local products that are being made or farmed, or kind of local restaurants to use all of these products and linking everyone, and then kind of keeping it all local, and reducing our food miles and kind of supporting each other and growing and putting Wicklow on the map as a food destination. So yeah,
that's great.
Paul Smith and Santina Kennedy, the three of us, we have a certain magic, when we get together, and we're very good at supporting each other and kind of sending work each other's way. So we all live in the same kind of area. We're part of this food network called Wicklow Naturally, which is a bunch of local producers and restaurants and chefs and people involved in the food and drink industry, kind of getting together and promoting each other and using each other's products. And even in my own business, I'll have a lot of local cheeses and I'll try and incorporate. And then there'll be local pubs that use local distilleries and beer brewers and stuff like that. So there's something magical happening around Wicklow at the moment. So keep an eye on Wicklow as a food destination in the coming years. So a big shout out to Santina and Paul for all their help and kind of helping me get set up with my own catering company as well.
That's great. That's cool. Is there a marketing thing with that, or is there a website, or someone can go on Wicklow and support it or follow it, or is there festivals?
Yeah, absolutely. WicklowNaturally.ie. We're just about to kick off in October is Food Month. So there's going to be food and drink events happening all month long, all across County Wicklow, everywhere from schools to libraries to, venues, restaurants, pubs. There's going to be people in the local supermarket talking about their produce and chatting with customers. So just, throughout the whole month of October. So keep an eye on WicklowNaturally.ie. And I think we've close to 100 members now, maybe somewhere between around 90 to 100. So anything from, people that keep alpacas and make bread, and people that are foragers and do foraging tours, and distilleries, and some bigger companies and some single person companies. So
that's great.
It's exciting times, I think.
Do you need an honorary member? I could fly over, maybe.
Absolutely. We need ambassadors around the world. Yeah. I nominate you, Tom.
All right.
With your Southeast Ireland name.
Yes, I'm an Irish citizen. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you're a roach. Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Perfect. Well, that's good. I'll put that link too in below. And, if someone wants to check it out, maybe there's someone listening in the local area, doesn't know anything about it, they could find out more.
Fantastic,
or someone's traveling to the area over there and wants to go and get involved in that as well. That'll be awesome. So as we come to the end of our chat today, and before we wrap up, is there any last-minute advice or guidance that you want to leave with the listeners? Something you want to share, maybe someone that's coming up and going into this industry or wants to go to culinary school, that you could, give them a bit of knowledge?
Well, the first piece of advice I always give any apprentice chef starting out is don't wash many of your aprons in one go, because they'll end up in a big knot. I wish somebody had told me that.
That's so true.
When I was younger. But on a more serious note, it is a great industry. You'll meet very eccentric but wonderful people, and you can travel all over the world. There's loads of different kind of venues that you can work in. It doesn't just have to be restaurants. There's 9 to 5 jobs out there if you want them, and then you can diversify. So I would recommend it as an industry, and I'd recommend that people go to college these days, because it's getting so competitive out there. If you want, if you want to get into teaching or something like that, you need the qualifications these days. So if you want to, diversify, but enjoy it. don't tolerate bullies. I always say, unless it's the head chef, just keep don't bother arguing. You just say yes, chef, and get on with the work. But anyone else, I mean, I don't think it's necessary to tolerate bullies in this day and age. Call it out, and work hard, but play hard, but look after your kind of physical health, and your mental health will follow. I think it's important to stay. It's hard, but it's important, I think, to make an effort to stay fit and not to drink too much, and going into work hungover. Don't do it. You might think you're able, but it'll catch up with you sooner or later. So look after your health, and your mental health will follow, I think. I always recommend hospitality, and especially chefing. The great thing is you'll never ever stop learning if you want. You could go off and do a year learning about Indian or Nepalese food or something. Something that I don't even know that very much about. At 37, Japanese food is probably a 4-year apprenticeship in its own. There's so much, and read the books, read autobiographies. Get a nice cookbook collection, and borrow cookbooks from your local library. I mean, there's so much online these days, but there's something nice about holding a cookbook and having splatters on it, and having your own kind of collection, and that influences you. You can look back and go, right, well, that was that era of my. It's like CDs, isn't it? You go, that's that era of my life, and this is the college era, and that cookbook's from when I was dating that girl or whatever. I'm trying to impress that girl.
Yeah, cooking's a good life skill too, right? You can always cook a nice meal, and it's a good life skill.
Well, yes, you want to impress a girl. Yeah, that's my advice.
Well, that is just about all the time we have for this episode, and I want to first thank you, Tadgh, for coming on the show today and sharing your culinary school story with all of us. We really appreciate your time, your insight, and your honesty.
Thank you for having me, Colin. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, I look forward to meeting you in person sometime in the not too distant future.
Yeah, definitely. If you ever get to Florida, United States, give a call.
Likewise, if you're ever in the sunny southeast and want to come to the foodie capital that is County Wicklow.
Excellent. All right. Thanks again. I really enjoyed our chat. Bye-bye now.
All right. Cheers, man.
And a big thanks and appreciation also goes out to all of you, the listeners. We hope you enjoy the show and this episode. You all are a big part of this show, so please let us know what you think. Your comments are always welcome, and they help us in making the best show possible. You can email them to culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com. That's culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com, or even leave us a voicemail at area code 207-835-1275. That's area code 207-835-1275. And if you like the show, we have a big ask of all of you, and that is to share the podcast with everyone you know, and to give us a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Okay, until our next Culinary School story, take care and be well. Bye-bye. Culinary School Stories is a proud member of the Food Media Network.